Hello there, and welcome to the latest edition of Live Music and Me, a series of music podcasts where we get some of our friends to come on and talk about their gig memories. Today's guest is the music journalist and writer Paolo Hewitt. I'm pretty excited to be having this chat with Paolo. He was the writer of, I think, the first sort of proper biog I ever read, which was the Beat Concerto by the Jam in about 83. And I've read a number of his things since then. Really interesting guy, very cool, which you'd have to be when you were called to Cappuccino Kid for a while. So I'm hoping that some of the chat will be good fun. Hope you'll enjoy this one now. All the best. Paolo, good afternoon. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well indeed, thank you. How are you?
Not bad for a Friday. Not bad for a Friday.
For a Friday.
Are you ready to have a go at live music and me?
I'm trying, I've been preparing all week. I've
Yeah.
been in pre-season training.
Good. No pressure then, right?
Yeah,
Okay then. So let's kick off with hopefully a fairly easy one for you. So tell me
yeah.
about the first gig that you went to.
Well, the first gig I ever went to was actually a festival. It was the Reading Festival of 1973. So I would have been 68, 70, 69, 70, 71, 70, 15. I'd have
Right.
been
Okay.
15.
Yeah.
And I went to see Rod Stewart and the I was a big Rod Stewart and the Faces man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Excellent.
they played Reading Festival. I think it might have been their first gig without Ronnie Lane. Um, and uh, I remember getting to the festival and thinking, "Oh my God, this is my first ever gig," and just hearing how loud bands were, especially at a festival because the sounds are so,
Yeah.
you have to have a loud sound. And I was so looking forward to seeing Rod Stewart and the Faces, and you know what? They were awful.
Oh, you're
It
kidding.
rained. It was just, it was a washout. It was a complete washout.
What,
So
why were they awful? What, not having a go or
yeah, it was just one of those gigs. They just didn't gel. It just there was no kind of, you know, sometimes it happens. You
yeah,
just, I don't know, if a band aren't communicating or a band aren't, you know, what's the word? Linking with the audience and
yeah,
really igniting it, and you know,
that's not.
maybe it was the sound. It was raining as well, so it was a bit dismal.
Were you there with some pals?
Yeah, yeah, we had a load of guys from school. In fact, when we got there on the Saturday, we were putting a tent up, and this hippie came over and he said, "Hey man, you got any skins?" And I
Right.
didn't know what skins were, and I said, "No, oh look, I've got a banana. Do you want You could have the." He's like, "No, man, I want some skins." Soon found out what they were later on.
Bet. I bet. And were the Faces headlining the
Yeah,
festival?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They were headlining, yeah. And I think I saw Tim Harding as well because he was on as well. I think that
Right.
so which was quite something to see Tim Harding.
And
But of
did
course, at the time, I'd have thought, "Oh, who's this guy?" Actually, I'd have known Tim Harding because Rod did a brilliant version of "Reason to Believe,"
of
one
course
of
they
his
did.
one of his songs. So I knew about Tim Harding from that.
Of course they did. And did you get to see the Faces again?
Huh? No,
You didn't.
never saw them again because they were kind of petering out now. Ronnie Lane had left. They were about to put Ooh La La out, which Rod was gonna, just say was rubbish.
Yeah.
And then I think the following year they did a single. And then the following year Ronnie Wood left to join the Stones, and that was it.
Ah, well, at least you gave yourself the opportunity to see them, right?
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. All righty. First gig. So what about the last gig you were at?
The last gig I was at.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What was the last gig I was at? Um, because I don't really go to gigs anymore. I'd have to say Mavis Staples and Stone Foundation
Wow. Okay.
at the New Camden Roundhouse.
Okay. When was that?
That was 2, 3 years ago.
Okay. And how
Yeah.
was it?
Um.
How was it?
Well, I'm a big Mavis Staples man. I love her.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. In fact, when I was at the NME, I interviewed her, and she was just beautiful, man. She was just she was just so lovely. Do you know what I mean? You just
Yeah,
couldn't help but love her. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
And I remember she told me this story. She said that the Staple Singers, which was her gospel group,
Hmm.
had a song which Martin Luther King had taken for his "I Had a Dream" speech,
Right.
right? And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "We had a song. It was called 'I Had a Dream,' and Martin Luther King took that and used it for his." And I was thinking, "Look, Mavis, I really love you, but this. Come on, what are you talking about?"
Right.
And anyway, my girlfriend at the time, Andy, was down at a jazz festival in south of France. And when she got back, she said, "I bought you a present." She didn't know I'd interviewed Mavis or anything. She gave me a copy of the Staple Singers' really early recordings,
Okay.
gospel recordings.
Yeah.
And I looked at the track list, and there it was, 1954, "I Had a Dream."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh
I
my
know
God,
that.
Mavis, forgive me for doubting you.
Yeah.
I have sinned." So yeah, so Stone Foundation supported her at the Roundhouse.
Yeah. That sounds like
And
that.
I mean, she's coming towards the end now, but I mean, it's still moments of brilliance. And
Brilliant. Still with the voice as well, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd say Mavis Staples was the last one. So
That-
Rod Stewart to begin with, and Mavis Staples to end. That's not too
It's
shabby, is it?
it's not too shabby at all.
No,
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 not
we
at
like
all.
that.
All right, I
Yeah.
do like that. Okay, what about the first gig you went to with a partner? Like a gig date?
Oh my God. That would have been bum bum bum. I'd have gone with Alison Hollenby, who I was madly in love with at Brooklands Technical College.
Okay. Did Alison know
Uh,
that?
she probably came to that gig. So what happened was, this was 1976. The punk was starting to bubble up,
Yeah.
and I was at Brooklands Technical College, and they put on a gig by a band called Alberto y los Trios Paranoias, right?
Okay.
And on support was Sham 69, the
Uh-huh.
punk band.
Yeah, yeah.
And it said on the posters, punk band Sham 69. And we went to that, and we got down there, and Sham 69 were playing, and they finished a song. They had a song, I can still remember it now. It's called "Let's Rob a Bank." Let's rob a bank, babe. Let's steal a car. Let's rob a bank, babe. We'll get very far. And so anyway, they finished that, and then Jimmy Percy went, "This one's for all you wankers who live in the green belt." The green belt is that
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
the rich part of southern England that you can't build houses on. And all these hippies got tomatoes out and started throwing them at Jimmy. It was they'd obviously planned all this, because
Yeah.
they were a punk band and there were a lot of hippies at the college. So they all started throwing tomatoes at Jimmy Percy. Um,
What was his take on that?
he was like, "You can fuck off," and then they carried on. But funny enough, because it was just in the college, and I went backstage to give my support because I thought these hippies were just, so out of order.
Yeah.
And he was like, "We've got to get out of here. They're going to beat us up." And I was like, "No, they won't, man. They're students. They're fine. They won't touch you." So that was probably, yeah, Alison Hollenby. I don't know what she made of it.
Yeah. Did you do it again?
What gigs? Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
used to go. Yeah, yeah. I mean, gigs were a big part of everything.
Yeah.
I was music obsessed from 1963 when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I heard "She Loves You" by the Beatles, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like an epiphany for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just spent the whole day going, "She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah." I was just, and from then on, music, because I had a really, horrible childhood. So music and books were my escape. Because,
Yeah.
once you're listening to a great record or reading a book, you're not thinking about, you know, what's going on in your life. You're just in the moment. That's the thing about music. When you're listening to great music, it doesn't matter what's happening. I think it's why I got into writing, because writing's the same. Once I start writing, I'm not thinking about any problems or anything like that. So all these things that were really important to me, football's another. When I support Spurs. When I go to see Spurs, once I'm in the stadium,
Yeah.
all you're thinking about is the present. Who's playing? How's the match going? Or same with reading a book, or So so gigs I've been to, I don't know, thousands and thousands, and especially obviously because I work for the music press, so I had to review. Part of that, a big part of that is
Yeah.
reviewing live bands.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and talking about what was that, the Beatles, I think you mentioned the 63 there. So what about a bucket gig in the past that you wished you had got to?
So I'm a big Marvin Gaye fan, and I read there was a great book on him. Actually, it might have been a Steve Turner book. There were two really good books on there. There was one called Divided Soul, which was like the first biog of him, but it might have been a Steve Turner book. Anyway, he played Jamaica in probably about the same year that I was watching Rod Stewart and the Faces and the Pouring Rain in Reading.
Yep.
And the support act was Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Okay.
He played two nights, right? Now, on the first night, he had no idea how good Bob Marley was.
Right.
So Bob Marley actually probably won the night, was
Yeah.
the
So
best band on
blew
the
away.
night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the second night, Marvin was like, that is not going to happen again.
Right.
So I'd love to have been at that gig, Bob Marley versus Marvin Gaye, because I think
Absolutely.
that would have been something special.
Yeah.
So that's the gig I'd love to have gone to.
So you could have been in Jamaica watching Marley and Gaye, but you were at the Reading Festival in the rain.
That's my life.
Yeah, that's a lot of our lives, I think, Paolo.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it does sound amazing. That's fantastic. And
yeah.
what about maybe a gig that you went to that surprised you? It was either better than you thought it was going to be or worse than you thought it was going to be.
Funny enough, I was talking about this yesterday. I went to because there's a guy doing a big PhD about the music press, and he was saying about did we deliberately go out and do hatchet jobs on people? And I said no. I said I was always open to being, if something really moved me, I wouldn't think, oh, it's so and so. I'd think, wow, that was really good. And I went to see. I was at Melody Maker, so 1982 time, and I went to see Roxy Music in Birmingham.
Yep,
And I wasn't expecting anything, to be honest with you. I was just thinking, I liked them at the time, but they're probably rubbish now. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And they were just amazing. And I realise now they were amazing because all those, the albums that they made in the 70s, they're just classics. I mean, that music's timeless. So if they're playing in every Home a Heartache or Virginia Plain or Stranded or Street Life, they're just great. And they played them really well. And by that time, 82, they were obviously seasoned
yeah.
performers. And I just wrote this completely rave review about them. And in fact, the next week, Brian Ferry agreed for me to interview him. So I got a Brian Ferry interview out of it.
They're good.
Yeah.
And where was that gig? Do you remember?
In Birmingham. I don't know where in Birmingham, wherever. It was like a theatre place.
Yeah.
So
I think I might have seen them on the same tour.
really,
Was yeah, it might have been the tour they done after like John Lennon had died and stuff. The Jealous Guy at number one, and all that. Have we seen
it was definitely 82.
about that? Yeah, he used to
Yeah.
come to Glasgow Apollo, and I remember they played Like a Hurricane. The Neil Young song. They covered that
Oh, okay.
and a couple other things, but that like, same thing. They're just class acts.
Yeah.
So
No, it's funny because I've been doing these little books with this friend of mine, Simon, and he's a huge Brian Ferry fan.
yeah,
And he's really kind of put me back into that.
yeah,
And in fact, I've been looking at Eno a lot, actually, exploring a lot of what Eno did.
yeah,
And there's a great book about Eno called Some Faraway Beach.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really, really good. I'm quite intrigued by Eno. I think he's still kind of underappreciated what he did.
Yeah, 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 and the amount of artists that he's taken and probably made better.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly influenced them heavily, from
Absolutely,
Bowie
yeah.
and U2 and all
I
that.
mean, that's the thing. Someone like Ultravox, who, all I knew was Vienna, which I hated.
Yeah,
And then I'm reading like John Fox is this huge Brian Eno fan, and they get Eno into to produce the first album. And I'm thinking, Damn, I'm going to have to listen to Ultravox
I
now.
mean, they were pretty cool, weren't they? So Ultravox, early Human League stuff like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't like that synthesizer thing at the
No,
time,
no,
because I was sort of, my thing was Motown, or I didn't like, I didn't like ABC, or I just found it all a bit. I didn't like that 80s sound,
you're right.
the drum machines, and I just thought I didn't realize at the time what it was, but I realize now looking back on it. I kept thinking, and I think now, why didn't people just use a normal setup?
Yeah,
Drums. When they use drums, everybody using synth drums. So I didn't like that sound, as it were. It wasn't soulful to me.
yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I guess
But
if
that's not music to be soulful. It's not setting out to be soulful, is
yeah,
it?
agreed. Yeah, agreed. And you mentioned that I think you said earlier on, I wasn't really in the habit of doing hatchet jobs and stuff, but didn't you get a hard time from Bruce Springsteen about
Yeah, yeah. But no, I didn't get a hard time from it. It was completely my fault. I reviewed The River, his double album, and I just wrote this rave review about it. And then they rang up and they said, Bruce would love to meet you. He's on tour in France. So I was taken out to France and I interviewed him. And I wrote a piece, and then he wanted to carry on the conversation in Sweden, so I was taken out to Sweden, but then he couldn't, and then he was so apologetic, and I'm so sorry, Paolo, you come all this way, and I just couldn't get the time, and we got on really well. And then about a year later, he put Nebraska out, and there was a deputy editor at MM, and he kind of made it clear that he really hated Springsteen, and that if he wanted, the subtext was, if you want to, be on my side, sort of thing,
yeah,
it's probably best not to like this album, which was awful, man, because apart from anything else, Nebraska's one of his best albums. I mean,
amazing.
what he did there to just sit to release an album with just him on acoustic,
Yeah,
in the midst of all this synthesizers and blah blah blah, was just amazing.
it was.
And I liked that album much more than The River, and I slagged it off. And then I got this phone call saying, "Oh, just to let you know, you will not be welcome on any more Bruce Springsteen tours."
Which
And I
was
just
fair
thought,
enough, I guess. Was it?
huh?
Was fair enough, I guess, was it?
Yeah, of course it was. Of
Yeah.
course it was.
Yeah.
So I've got a Substack column, so I wrote a piece saying
Yeah.
how much I regret that about people please. I was people pleasing instead
Yeah.
of saying no. This is what I think. You know, I was people pleasing. Which I did a lot of. I think because of my background, I did a lot of that in my 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah. Listen, we've all done stuff, mate.
Yep.
We've all done it. And the album's aged very well, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds a classic now, doesn't it?
That and Ghost of Tom Joad are amazing.
Yeah, totally. I was lucky enough to see him twice this summer, actually. So,
Oh, okay.
Anfield and France, Lille, France. So,
Yeah, my friends of mine went and said he was
ah,
just wonderful.
he's still a man,
I
isn't
mean,
he?
I couldn't believe it when I first saw him. I mean, 4 hours he played,
Yeah, I
and it
know.
felt like half an hour.
No, no,
It's
he's a bit
quite
of a one-off,
incredible.
to be fair. And what about any gigs that you had a ticket to, but you never got there? You got the ticket and then something happened, couldn't get there.
Um,
We've had all sorts for this one.
well, I don't know, not off the top of my head, but
We'll come back to it then. One
well,
pops in your head.
yeah.
Well, go on, tell me about the best support act that you've ever seen.
Best support act would be. Do you know that American band, the Tedeschi Trucking Band or something?
No,
What are they called?
drive-by truckers.
No,
No.
no. It goes back to Mavis Staples again.
Ah, right. Okay. No, don't know them. No.
And Mavis played. What did Mavis play? Yeah, the Tedeschi Trucks Band they called,
Right. Don't know them.
and they played. They supported Mavis. I'm going to say the Albert Hall, and I was with this girl who was like, "No, we got to see the support act," because I was never that bothered by support acts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I was there to see Mavis,
yeah.
and I've sort of dragged along and sat in, oh God, you know. And then they were just great. They played this sort of R&B soul-y sort of thing, and I was just knocked out by them. I thought they were great. I
That's a,
thought they,
genuinely, that's a new one on me. I
yeah, they're called the Tedeschi Trucks Band. They're
love that.
really good.
I mean, we've had all sorts of gigs quoted at us, and some of them are dead famous, right, in bands and stuff. But we've had lots of obscure
Yeah,
quotes. It's great, Paolo. We can, obviously guys hear that, and then you hope some of them go and check out some of their music and stuff.
yeah. No, they're really worth it. They're really
I'll do
worth it.
that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really good. Like that, mate. Thanks for that.
no worries. I'll
And
send you
what
the
about?
invoice. I'll send you the invoice.
I'll do. I can send it from them. I'm sure they'll get the benefit. Yeah. And what about did you get to a gig but you never got home again? You missed the last bus or the train or you had to bunking about
That
somewhere.
would have happened when I was in Woking.
Yeah.
Um, and um,
So you could get to London but getting back was tough.
yeah, getting back from London, we used to, though I think we did it kind of deliberately. There used to be a milk train from Waterloo to Woking at
Yeah.
4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, by the time the band had done the encores and that, but we didn't mind it. We liked it, sort of messing around on Waterloo Station or walking around London, because London to us in Woking was like the golden city on the horizon.
Yeah.
So to go to London and to spend as much time as possible was always a good thing. So we'd often get the 4 o'clock train, milk train from
Right.
Waterloo to Woking. Yeah,
And you would have been young then, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, I mean, so the place I used to go to a lot was the Guilford Civic Hall, because the Guilford Civic Hall. I mean, you think about it in those days, it's quite incredible. Like, I still remember the huge disappointment of not getting a ticket for David Bowie when he had Ziggy Stardust out. You used to write a letter and put a postal order in for tickets.
yeah.
You know, dear sir, I would like 2 tickets for the David Bowie concert at Guildford Civic Hall on February the
Yeah.
15th or whatever it was, and then close a postal order. And of course, Bowie then was huge and it just sold out. And so, but we used to go there, and they used to do these Sunday afternoon events as well. And I got to see, although I didn't realize at the time, I got to see a lot of the bands who were laying the roots for punk, like
Okay.
Dr. Feelgood
Yep.
or the Kurzel Flyers
Yep.
or Ian Dury, or all these bands who weren't doing prog rock, weren't Led Zeppelin. The Feelgoods as well. With that they were so exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, because they were playing 3 minute songs.
Yeah.
And with this guy who just played this guitar really funny with his hand, and the lead singer looked like he wanted to beat you up, and it was great. And then after that, the band that I mean, for me, the first half of the '70s was the Faces, but the second half was Graham Parker and the Rumour. They were
Yeah.
one of the best live bands ever. They were so on it, and the songs were great, and yeah, I was really taken by that. And again, Guildford Civic Hall for that a lot of the time. And talking about missing trains, we used to walk back from there. It's 5 miles, and if it was a summer's night,
Yeah.
walk back to Woking, probably drunk,
Yeah.
you know, probably doing things we shouldn't do, you know. But that's what gigs were about, wasn't it? It was a camaraderie.
Well,
It was like you found your friends, like at school, you found friends, and you're of a similar mind, you know, and you like this band, and you all like this band, and you went as a kind of, not as a gang, but as a group. And I remember punk rock seeing the Clash at Guildford Civic Hall very early on, and just wow, that was incredible.
yeah.
Um,
I
so
got
live music,
I got a hard time about that age because I was really into sort of new wave and post punk and stuff like that, but I was also into rock.
right?
two different crowds as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would go to gigs on
Well, you
both.
see, I have this sort of personality where it's kind of all or nothing. So when I signed up for punk, it was like, right, there were no good records made before 1977. You know, that line, I used to
Yeah,
follow
yeah,
that
yeah,
line and
yeah,
blah, blah, blah. And it only lasted a year because punk just, it just blew itself out. It couldn't sustain itself. And in fact, by 1978, I was listening to Tom Waits and to Motown. But
of course.
um, anyway, but punk was, I, and it was funny. I mean, it wasn't a gig, but I was with this girl, and she wanted to go and see Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
And and I'm thinking, disco, man, I can't go to that. I'm a punk man, I can't, And but I really fancied this girl, so I went with her.
It wasn't
And
Alison, was it, from way back? It wasn't
huh?
Alice. It wasn't Alison that you mentioned earlier on.
No, no, it was
No.
another girl. It was another girl.
Right.
And you know what? I love that film.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
remember coming out because it was Italian Americans, which I love. I love that culture.
Yeah.
And it's the same story as Quadrophenia or Rebel Without a Clause. It's the same story. You know.
And amazing songwriting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Those songs were great. That opening thing when he's walking down the street with
Yeah.
Tonight Fever. It's just brilliant.
I heard on radio yesterday actually the Bee Gees, I think, have had 9 US number one singles.
Yeah, I mean,
Mental,
amazing band.
mental. You know,
Yeah, amazing band.
the things that you like when you're older that you it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
a
yeah,
podcast, I think, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
No. All changed. You mentioned the music festival earlier on, the Faces one. What about the kind of best music festival that you've been to?
Knebworth.
Knebworth. Which one?
Yeah. With
Oasis?
Oasis, with
Oasis.
Oasis.
Right. I
Yeah,
thought so.
it was those 2 days were pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I was DJing actually. So to be on the stage and look, and the thing about that gig was, and the thing about Oasis at the time was that they attracted everybody.
yeah.
It was everybody, young, old, punk, mod, goth, everybody was there. Everybody was just fascinated by this band. And it was, there was a real feeling of something very special. And it was great. It was just 2 days. I mean, they could have played 6 months there or something crazy. Do you know what I mean?
They
But
had to. Yeah,
well, I think it was 125,000 and there were 2 million applications. So they could have done about 18 nights, but only did two, which made it really special,
yeah.
you know. And I always thought that they should have disappeared after that.
Mm.
It was like the end of something.
Yeah,
And they should have gone away and regrouped and come back with. But anyway. But yeah, Nebworth, definitely.
yeah. I can imagine. And how did you pick your songs for your DJing for that
I
kind
just
of audience?
I just put well, it was just me and a few others, a guy called Sean Rowley. So I just one night I would just go, right, that and
Yeah.
not really think about it. Just records I wanted to hear.
Okay. You didn't. It wasn't playing to the audience or anything. No.
No, because
No.
you see, it was funny with Oasis and that because they were from another generation, so they were really into that whole Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, which I thought was okay, but it
Yeah.
wasn't really, you know, I wasn't. I didn't think the Stone Roses were the greatest band who had ever existed, for example, whereas a lot of them did.
Okay. And they were never great live, the Stone Roses, to be fair.
No, but I never saw them live. But
No, weren't the best. His
well, the
voice
trouble,
was.
the thing you have about Manchester is that you have a lot of guys from there who can't sing. They have these distinctive voices, but they can't really sing. I think Ian Brown's one of them. Without being, it's great. I mean, the Stone Roses are a very good thing, but the Fall or Morrissey or a lot of these Manchester vocalists, they don't sing in the traditional way.
Do you include Liam in that?
Liam was a really good singer.
Good singer, right?
Yeah,
Okay, just checking.
I mean, he suited that music perfectly, didn't he?
Oh, he did totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. Yeah,
yeah,
and you can see that now with the kind of the comeback stuff that they're doing.
yeah, yeah,
They're still kind of well received, aren't they? So,
yeah.
all right, okay. What about this one then? What about a gig that you travelled the furthest to get to?
Well, in absolute terms, that would probably be the Jam in Japan.
Well, there you are.
But
That was good.
that was because I was on Melody Maker and they said, "Do you want to go out to Japan and interview the Jam?"
That's okay.
So that's probably the furthest I've been from. Oh, actually, Australia's further, isn't it?
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I went with Oasis to Australia. So I saw
Okay.
them play in Melbourne and Sydney. So that's probably the furthest, yeah.
And you didn't have to worry about getting back from there, right?
No, I didn't have to worry about the 4 o'clock milk
No, the
train.
milk train.
I was okay
That'd take
on
a
that
while,
one.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just a very quick aside, I remember all the stories at the time about how well received the jam were in Japan. Did you sort of see some of that when you
Oh,
went?
they were mad for him.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was the last tour. It was 82.
yeah.
And but the fans were lovely because when I went to Japan the first time, I thought Japan was this really spiritual Buddhist monk place, and I got to Tokyo and it's all Blade Runner and neon lights, and I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting it. And then I got talking to these Jam fans in at the hotel who were just lovely. And I told them this. I was like, I thought you lot were all Buddhist monks and spiritual,
Yeah,
you know, and they were laughing. And the next day they brought me, and I've still got them, they brought me a pair of Buddhist monk sandals. They're like these wooden ones with a,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, which was really nice of them. I really liked them. But yeah, the Jam were huge out there.
Yeah, good. No, I'm always interested in how they're received.
Well,
Not just,
they were Japan, they were big. In America, they weren't. You know, a lot of people didn't get it because of the Englishness.
of course, yeah, and the attitude as well. They kind of they did what they wanted, really, didn't they? They weren't very good at PR and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And good for them. Okay, got a few more to finish then. So, what about mentioned the bucket gig Marvin Gaye thing in the past?
Yeah.
But anyone that you're still hoping to see that you haven't seen yet?
No, the ones I'd like to have seen are now dead.
They're gone. Right.
Yeah, Bowie. I never saw Bowie because he
All
kept
right.
playing stadium. He just played stadium gigs, and I couldn't do big stadium gigs, so I never saw him. And and
And what about like McCartney and stuff like that? Have you seen them?
no, I've never seen McCartney. Um,
Same thing, big stadiums, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's always that. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I just don't like those places, you know.
No, I get that. I was lucky enough to see Bowie. He wasn't not a small venue, but he played at the at Ingliston at the exhibition
Right.
into where the Jam. I actually seen the Jam quite a long time before that. They are now, not small, but in relative terms to say Murrayfield, where I saw Bowie, that only held maybe 5,000, 6,000, the hall, and it was wonderful. Got quite far down the front, and you felt
Yeah.
like you were at a small gig with him. That was amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was proper amazing. But yeah, I get that. Stadium things are. I think it's one of these ones that's acquired. You either accept them for what they are,
Yeah, I think if
or
you
you
go to
don't.
stadium gig, you have to go with loads of people.
Yeah,
You know, and have a day out and a laugh and it's not about, I don't know, it's more about the event than the music, I think
yeah. No, I
sometimes.
get that. Totally get that.
Yeah.
All right. What about who would the band or artist be that you've seen the most?
Well, Weller, because I was friends with him, so you know, I first saw the Jam in Woking in 1975, you know, when they were a soul band. So probably them, Graham Parker, I saw all the time. Oasis, because I went on tour with them. Probably those three, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad three, is it?
No, it's not. It's not too. Yeah,
There's a few people would have swapped positions with you on those.
yeah. I'm sure there is. Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
I'm sure you know that as well. It's
Yeah, no, I did. I'll tell you a funny one actually.
on
I
there.
was up in Barrowlands. I was DJing with Weller,
Yeah.
and I'd had one of these funny cigarettes which smell funny.
Okay.
And then after the gig, this little guy came up to me, and you know, sometimes when Scots people have really, really deep accents.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
I couldn't understand, and I'm not particularly compass mentis. I couldn't really understand it. And he was talking to me, and I would just say, when he'd stop, I'd go yes or no. I'd just go yes, yes, no, no, you know. And finally, this bouncer tapped me on the shoulder and he said, Paolo. I said, what? He went, you're saying yes when you should say no, and no when you should.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of us, to be fair, that's
Well, I can understand you. You're all right. I'm
I've
saying
tried
yes
very,
and
I've
no in the
tried
right
very hard
places
here.
here, aren't I? So,
Yeah, best behaviour. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And the Barrowlands are amazing. I'm going to ask you about venues. In fact, I'll ask you now. Where's your favourite live music venue?
I suppose it's Guilford Civic Hall, really,
Right.
because it was quite small. It was quite intimate. So, if you did see a big name, you saw him like up front. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. Yeah, I liked the atmosphere there. And when some bands they would clear the seats away so you could get down the front.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the upstairs thing. The Rainbow was really good as well in
Mhm.
London when
Yeah.
that was going. Barrowlands was good.
Still is.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Barrowlands is still, we get a lot of call outs for that
yeah,
because it's still there, still
yeah.
doing stuff really. We used to get quite a lot of shouts for the Glasgow Apollo actually. But obviously there's a certain sort of timing for that. But I was at the last gig at the Glasgow Apollo,
Oh, okay.
was the Style Council.
Who was it?
The Style Council.
Oh, okay.
They played the last gig there in 85.
Oh, okay. Was
Yeah,
that the last gig?
yeah, it was.
Wow.
Wait, we'll show you this. We'll show you. Look at that.
Oh, okay. The
Yeah,
international tour, right?
that's the old tour program. Yeah, it was, and the Apollo was the same. It was all seated, but they would clear the seats away so you could get up and do your stuff, or people just stay
Yeah.
in seats. You know.
Those are the gigs I like. Or Kentish Town Forum,
Yeah,
I quite like. Even though when you walk in, that carpet smell of beer and
I do. Yeah.
that one, it had that. I like those sort of venues. I like that, I didn't like the big ones, I always liked intimate.
Yeah. No, me too, mate. Well, a couple to finish then. What about, this is a hard one. So what would your favourite ever gig be?
Quite easily, Brian Wilson, Pet Sounds at Royal Festival Hall 2004, I think it was.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, no, that gig was just amazing. I mean,
Because,
I'm a big Beach Boys fan.
right?
And he came on. And you see, the great thing about him is what Brian Wilson did was he was in LA and he saw this band called the Wondermints, and the Wondermints were this tribute Beach Boys act. They
Okay.
were 10 piece, and he, I think that because they're so into him, so he took them as his backing band,
Yeah.
and so they knew all the songs anyway. But what I think happened, I mean, I'd have to talk to him, but I think they'd sit Brian down and say, you know what, because they're huge Beach Boys fans, they would know the songs that the audience wanted to hear.
Hmm.
So the first hour or hour and a quarter was just wall to wall. If you're into the Beach Boys, every Beach Boys song you wanted to hear, you heard. It
Yeah.
was just one after the other.
That's it.
Not one where you went, oh, it's time to go to the toilet, or
Yeah.
it was just one after the other. It was quite amazing. And then Brian went off for about 5 minutes, and then he came back and he said, "Oh, in 1966, I wrote an album. It was called Pet Sounds, and here it is. Wouldn't it be nice?" And you're off. And it was just Pet Sounds. And then he played a couple more hits at the end, and
Wow.
I was just in heaven. I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
The band were just great. I mean, by this point, he's just behind the piano pretending to play it and singing, but, then they're obviously covering him up. But, it was, those songs are just,
Yeah.
he's up there for me. Him, Stevie Wonder, McCartney, Lennon,
Yeah.
he's up there with them easily. Prince, Sly Stone. Um, so
It's a good
yeah.
gig. And I never seen them, so I can totally get.
Oh, he was. Do you like the Beach Boys?
Oh, I love them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just he was just wonderful.
I actually love some of their 70s stuff, which wasn't as commercial.
Yeah,
Like Surf's Up, Sunflower, I Love You,
yeah. Sunflower's great.
album, love it.
Add some music to your day, and
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I mean, I love
yeah, yeah.
classic.
There was loads of stuff there. Disney Girls,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's very, very clever. Sad loss.
yeah.
I've got one to finish for you then.
Go
So,
on.
what about one live album that everyone should own a copy of?
bu- bum, bum.
You give me a couple if it's too hard.
I would go not Van Morrison. Um, the first live album. He did a double live album from Winterland in San Francisco,
Yeah, you did.
and that's brilliant. That's really good. And oh, the Dexys Feminine Divine live album.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dexys were actually thinking about it now. When I was saying about Jam Oasis, also Dexys. I first saw them in '79, and that's another band that have lasted all the way through for me.
amazing.
Yeah,
I saw
yeah,
that tour as well.
yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm just surprised
yeah.
you called it out because it's a great live album. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great live album. It's a great album, and they did it so well live.
yeah.
And it's got one of my all-time favorite songs on there, "My Submission." I think that
Oh,
song's just
yeah.
quite incredible.
The vocal on it's amazing, right?
Oh, it's yeah, and the way it goes up, just it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go those two, Van and Dexys.
That's a really nice double like that. Did you not just speak to Kevin Owens recently? Or was it?
Yeah, I've known Kevin a few years now, and he asked me to he about 2 years ago he rang me up. He said, "I've written a book." And my first thought was, I bet it's fucking great. Because he's not a man who reads books.
No,
He's
no.
not a book man. There's some musicians who are like Morrissey or Lloyd Cole, but Kevin was never a book man. And I thought, I bet he's done a fucking brilliant book.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me, to get my opinion on it. And I just thought, wow, it's so honest. It's so, and he's able to, I don't know how he did it. When I interviewed him, he told me, but he talks about how he felt at the time, which is it's hard to remember what went on, but to remember how you're feeling at the time as well, to tap into that makes it really compelling because you're really into the character. And then the book company asked said he's going to do a book tour at these various places. Would you interview him in Bristol and in Brighton? Which I did. Bristol on the Wednesday and Brighton on the Friday, and both went really well. So
Good.
he spoke a lot about how when he'd begun thinking about the past, and he'd been writing it for 20 years, and that's how he tapped into how he felt. First of all, he'd remember the memory, and then he would remember,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
his feeling around it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of time for Dexys in general, but certainly for
Yeah.
Poland in particular. I was lucky enough to do a podcast with Helen O'Hara
Oh, okay.
not that long ago, actually. I think back end of last year. And again, getting a whole perspective from Helen on that sort of period of Dexys up to Don't Stand Me Down, and
Yeah.
amazing, absolutely amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really into. It's funny. I've just started. I just finished watching a thing called The Last Dance on Netflix,
right,
and it's about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I'm not really a basketball man, but I love people who dedicate themselves to it, who just go the extra yard.
yeah,
Kevin's one of them.
yes, totally, yes, and he still cares,
Yeah,
doesn't he? A lot.
yeah, and I'm a big Robert De Niro fan, and those people are the ones that I just, I kind of latch on to.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well that was the last one. And how was that for you? Was it all
It
right?
was fine. It was good, man. I'm sure there's.
You'll come off
I
and
still
sound
haven't
like people
answered the
saying,
bought a
yeah, yeah.
ticket and didn't get there
I know. Well, you
question.
can message me and I'll add them on or something, right?
Yeah, I
And have
still
you
can't.
what have you got? Have you got stuff coming up? Are you busy?
Yeah, I've so we've got this book about so I've done these three kind of books. They're about 3,000. They're books. They're called chat books, and
Yeah.
they're 4,000 words. I've done one on Rod Stewart, one on Weller meeting Townsend, and one on the specials. And then I've got my Substack column, which every Friday. So I put free stuff up there, but also it's only £3.50, and it's stuff about my time on the music press.
Yeah.
And I'm also writing scripts at the moment, so I've got a couple of scripts out there at the moment, which I'm waiting to hear about.
Good stuff. And we can find you on Facebook and all the usual places.
Yeah. I'm not on Twitter though because I got hacked and then when I decided to go back, then I looked at Twitter and I just thought, oh, I don't want to be part of this. All the it's funny. You kind of get scared to write anything because all
Yeah, I
the
get that. Yeah.
torrent of abuse you get.
I can see from your side, we're very lucky. We have a music page on Twitter,
Oh, do you?
and it's fantastic. Paolo will get maybe 2,500 or so that
Yeah,
they are very, very safe area, and we have great fun with it. But I do understand what you're saying.
yeah,
There is a faction out there which isn't so good. So, but
yeah,
certainly we'll get you get your Facebook details onto the chat and stuff and
yeah. Lovely, thank you.
find you out. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for your time. I've
No, no worries. And the,
enjoyed it.
the listeners don't know this, but we'd arranged a couple of times and it all went a
Well,
bit pear-shaped. So
well, next time you're in Glasgow, you can give me a shout as well. Okay.
no, I will do. Definitely, definitely.
Paolo Hewitt, that was live music and me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All the best, mate.